It's time for another FF2M Asia series, the 2016 to 2017 season to be exact, but it could be the last FF2M Asia series, at least for quite a while, as the AFIA are looking to overhaul the main feeder series and bring more overseas races into the main championship. And this promises to be quite an interesting Asia series, as there are quite a lot of new drivers coming in. Well, more on that later, but a quick look at the calendar shows that there'll be 6 meetings, starting off here at Kuala Lumpur, and moving over to Suzuka, and then the Bahrain Grand Prix. So those 3 races supporting the 2016 FF1M Championship. Dubai is a standalone race that will take place in December, and then the Sakhir Outer Circuit and the Melbourne race will be supporting the 2017 FF1M series. Here's a look at the Sepang circuit, and it is an absolute brilliant circuit, with plenty of overtaking opportunities into the first corner and then the final hairpin, and also turn 9, which is that left-hand hairpin that you can see just below the back straight. Also turn 4 at the very top of the map. Last season was extremely chaotic. Pierre Gasly had started from pole position but was sent into a series of flips at the first corner, triggered by Benjamin Pryor, but yet Gasly still finished 4th. It was Sirotkin who won that race. Here's a look at the qualifying results, and we got George Russell and Charles Leclerc on the front row, 2 new drivers in this series, and then Pascal Wehrlein and Esteban Ocon take up row 2, and series returnee Itsuki Yoshida for Shake and Make Jr. will start 5th ahead of veteran Genjo Sei. Sergei Sirotkin, last season's winner, will be starting 7th ahead of another FF2M veteran now, Benjamin Pryor. Chuck Bucknam, the FF3M frontrunner, will be starting 9th ahead of Mitch Evans. Pierre Gasly starts 11th ahead of Nick De Vries. Then Callum Ilott will be starting 13th ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi 14th. Lance Stroll making his FF2M debut in 15th ahead of another FF2M veteran, Daniel Kvyat. Then Alexander Albon will be starting 17th ahead of Jack Aitken in 18th place. Lucas Owen 19th ahead of Santino Ferrucci 20th. And then the back row filled by Pietro Fittipaldi and Maz. And as you can see, there are a couple of new teams on the grid for this season. You've got Monolith Racing Systems, run previously by Horizon FF2M, and Medsign 7, a completely new team. So the 5 lights go out, and it looked like a very good start from Charles Leclerc on the front row. He's trying to get up alongside the Gajera 2 driver of George Russell going into the first corner. Now, is anybody going to create mayhem like Benjamin Pryor did last season? Looks clean so far, but it's side by side between Leclerc and Russell through the first corner, and Russell round the outside at turn number 2 to take the lead of the race for Gajera 2. George Russell from Charles Leclerc. Then we got Pascal Wehrlein in 3rd, holding on to that position ahead of Itsuki Yoshida, who's had a good start, passing Esteban Ocon, who's not gotten away well. Ocon now driving for Spaniel, having moved over from Willows Jr. And Pierre Gasly taking that other place for Willows. And there at the back, the 2 liquid targets of Ferrucci and Mazepin. So Russell going into the fast double right, he's trying to go defensive on Leclerc. It's not really an overtaking opportunity. Oh, big chaos at the back, that's Yoshida and another driver, I think it's Wehrlein, getting caught up in that as well, as into turn number 9, Leclerc up the inside of Russell and taking the lead of the race. And look at the tyres that he's on. He's on the red-ringed soft tyres, which puts his qualifying performance into perspective. To manage 2nd on the grid on hard tyres is very impressive from Leclerc, and soft tyres for this feature race, he must surely be pulling away now from George Russell. And here's a replay then. Itsuki Yoshida looking to challenge Pascal Wehrlein into that double right and just ploughs straight into the back of the German. That is a careless one from Yoshida. Big misjudgment. Having lost his shake and bake seat to Nolan Bryant, he's going to try and make amends. Now, on board with Esteban Ocon as he looks to challenge Sergei Sirotkin. And Sirotkin driving for Monolith Racing Systems. And look at this, Lance Stroll in the Spaniel up the inside and up into 9th place, making that move stick. Trying to work out who he overtook there. Was that one of the Medsign 7s? Well, let's find out in later on, as Esteban Ocon looking to try and finally make that move on Sirotkin into the first corner, and up the inside into the first corner, Ocon makes that one stick. And Ocon also running these soft tyres for this race and making good use out of them in the early stages, even despite his poor start, as Pierre Gasly up the inside of Stroll into the first corner, and Nick De Vries pushing a Danish racing team wide, and out of the race goes that Danish racing driver. And more incidents at the fast double left. Wehrlein's involved. Now, is that Chuck Bucknam? Is that the other driver that's involved in that mess? I think it might well have been. He's dropped down the order as off the track goes one of the Spaniels. Is that Ocon? And no, it's... goodness me, is that Stroll or is it Ocon? Take a closer look at the helmet as it hops his way. It's Stroll. Lance Stroll out in his first FF2M race, having made that mistake at 12 and then rejoining right into the path of another driver. Now, there is an STV on the left being... Is that Gasly versus Pryor for 6th place going into the final hairpin? So Leclerc in the other Willows setting a fastest lap of the race on his second lap, but it's been bested by Esteban Ocon in the Spaniel. Now then, and Lance Stroll isn't lead out of the race. So that was the Spaniel we saw. And Benjamin Pryor getting very, very aggressively defending on the inside, trying to squeeze Pierre Gasly and Lucas Auer out of the race. That might have been the other driver involved in that kerfuffle with Lance Stroll, as a poor traction out of the second corner for Benjamin Pryor, and looking to try and hang on to 6th place. He's on the hard tyres, and Gasly on the softs with much better grip going into the 4th corner takes that 6th position away from the Welshman, the man from Anglesey. Now, who are we looking at here? Is that one of the... I don't think that's a liquid target. Bit hard to tell, actually, as we... It's Lenovo sponsored, so... Let's see what happens as we go into the first corner. Is that Genjo Se versus Esteban... versus George Russell for 2nd? I think it is, actually. So we are looking at 3rd place Se, who's been knocked around from pillar to post, but certainly in this Sepang meeting he's driving particularly well. Although on the hard tyres, he's doing quite well up in 3rd place, but he's got to be careful because Esteban Ocon is closing up to these two as Se goes up the inside of Russell into the 4th corner and takes that 2nd place away from the man from Kings Lynn. Same place as Martin Brundle, actually, as Alexander Albon tags the back of Benjamin Pryor going into the double right. Pryor goes off into the gravel and stays in 8th place, actually. Does he? Well, no, he lost a position, 7th to 8th, as Pascal Wehrlein took advantage of that. On board with Ocon, now versus George Russell, going up the inside into the final hairpin. He's been squeezed a bit, but Ocon's not having any of that as he takes 2nd. It's 3rd place off of George Russell as Russell makes a complete hash of the turn 15 hairpin underneath that brilliant grandstand. But it's still Charles Leclerc leading the race on lap 5 from 2.7 seconds from Genjo Se, as we have a look at Jack Aitken looking to make a move on. Is that a liquid target? I think it could well be a liquid target, and making that move stick as the liquid target itself gets it completely wrong at 15th. And 13th place, Itsuki Yoshida looking to recover from his silly little mistake overtaking attempt on the first lap against Pascal Wehrlein. He's taken 12th place off what could be Santino Ferrucci, but it's Nikita Mazepin, actually. So it is a liquid target that we're looking at as he tries to come back at Yoshida going into the first corner. Mazepin on the soft tyres, which could explain why he was... Oh, contact between the two, and Mazepin... Well, he tried to squeeze Yoshida around the outside, but Yoshida... He gave him plenty of space, but Mazepin wanted more, so... Silly little incident between those two, as Chuck Bucknam, also on a recovery drive, takes the position off of Santino Ferrucci into the final corner. And they are starting their 6 laps now. And let's have a look at the rest of the... Well, let's have a look at Genjo Se coming under pressure from Esteban Ocon, going through, that was 10 and 11, now into the fast sweep left of turn 12. That's where Lance Stroll ran wide and caused an accident with Lucas Auer, thanks to probably an unsafe rejoin. Things going quite well, though, for Stroll's teammate Ocon, as he gets into the slipstream of the Chinese driver Genjo Se. Tries the outside, but that's not going to work. He should switch to the inside, which he's done right there. Can he outbrake the Chinese driver into the final corner? He certainly can, and Esteban Ocon takes 2nd, but Se's got a good slipstream coming out of the final hairpin. Is he going to go right? He certainly is. That's the wisest option, because it gives you the inside line into the first corner. Can Se outbrake Ocon? He can do, but Ocon's trying to hang it on round the outside, but he's going to have to back out and try again for another lap. Now that's all going to help Charles Leclerc in the race lead. because he has 2.9 seconds over Genjase. And their squabbling will certainly help the Monegasque to pull away. There's yellow flags at the final hairpin. Is this the reason why? Chuck Bucknam having a look. Is that Pietro Fittipaldi he's having a look at? And Fittipaldi's shutting the door, and there's 2 spins. One for Chuck Bucknam and another one for a car that's in white and yellow. Let's see, yeah, that was very much... It's a Medsign that has spun around with Chuck Bucknam. Medsign with the Canon sponsorship on the side pods. Now, Ocon coming back at Say. This is going into turn number 9. Switching from the outside to the inside, and that works out quite well as Ocon moves back up into second, and from that part of the track he should be able to pull away on his soft tyres. Now here comes Pierre Gasly. Is it going to be 2 Willows Juniors in the top 3? It should be soon. Gasly hanging back a little bit going into the hairpin, but good run out of the final hairpin. Although taking a strange line, he chose to not take some slipstream immediately, but he's going to do now. Go to the right. Yep, you've done that. Now Pierre Gasly, he's got the speed to outbrake Genjase into the first corner. Bit of a lock-up there, as Gasly takes 3rd place and makes it 2 Willows Juniors in the top 3. And as for the rest of the top 8, well, it's Say in 4th place, then it's Russell 5th, and Sirotkin in 6th, Wehrlein 7th, and the battling Kvyat and Giovinazzi. As the contact between Ocon and Gasly ruins all his hard work by going for a spin at turn 4, and I think Ocon survived that one. And here is the battling Giovinazzi versus, is that Sirotkin actually? Giovinazzi's having a good drive from 14th on the grid. He's doing quite well, but Sirotkin hanging on, trying to get the inside into turn 11, but Giovinazzi round the outside takes that position off of Sergei Sirotkin. What tyres is Giovinazzi running? He's running softs. That explains why he qualified some 6 places behind Benjamin Pryor, but he's doing quite well in the race so far. Up the inside at the final hairpin. That's Daniel Kvyat taking Sirotkin for 8th place. Sirotkin on his hard tyres. Kvyat, is he on the soft tyres? I'd expect him to be because he qualified quite a way down indeed. Kvyat on the soft tyres as Sirotkin has a go back at Kvyat going into the first corner, but choosing the outside line means that you're always going to get the door shut on you. And Daniel Kvyat hangs on to 8th place. Now who's that coming up? I think that is Pietro Fittipaldi. As is this is Gasly versus Russell, so Gasly recovering after that contact with Esteban Ocon, now retaking 4th place off of George Russell, as into the pits comes Esteban Ocon from 2nd place. Now making the very early pit stop. It could give you track position, but could give you very old tyres come the end of the race, so Spaniel taking a calculated risk with Esteban Ocon in terms of the mandatory pit stop strategy. Into the box goes Esteban Ocon. On go a new set of soft tyres, and the mechanics matching the sidewalls this time. Blue car, matching the wing mirrors actually, they're red. As out of the pits in 6.5 seconds goes the Spaniel driver. Where's he going to rejoin? Probably in quite a bit of traffic if he's not that lucky. Off goes the pit limiter. There's a couple of cars in front, and that's worked out quite well. 7th place with Wehrlein and Giovinazzi in the distance. But it's caught up to them already. Look at the pace on new tyres as getting the door and switching to the inside line goes Ocon and Wehrlein, and that is a position gain. That's on his outlap, so just shows you how much potential pace new tyres have got. So Giovinazzi, is he going to try and hold up Ocon for a little bit into the... Oh, no contact between the two. Who's going to spin? It's Ocon's going to spin. That was dicey going into the final hairpin, and that's going to compromise another driver into the pit lane entry. Oh, no! Deary me, getting absolutely walloped by Mitch Evans in the Medsign Racing. So now they're going to have to make pit stops as Bucknam continuing his rather eventful race. Oh, contact and lost a wheel. That was with a liquid target, and that was with Mazepin. So Chuck Bucknam, let's have a look. Up the inside. Well, he's trying to get up the inside just there, and that's one of those incidents, I think. But Chuck Bucknam having a very eventful race come to a premature end, as Mitch Evans makes contact with Pietro Fittipaldi and helicoptering into the gravel trap along with Fittipaldi, and Messy racing continues as Daniel Kvyat looks to make a move on one of the Shake and Bake juniors. Is that Yoshida? I think it is. Yoshida. Haven't seen much of Lucas Auer is out of the race, so it must be Yoshida. Off onto the curb goes Yoshida. So that's a position gained for Daniel Kvyat as Yoshida goes down to 13th place. Had a very good race in his final FF1M race so far, with a fine drive to 4th at Portimao, but Shake and Bake Senior favouring Nolan Bryant as Giovinazzi continuing his good pace. Has he pitted because he's ended up behind Sorokin somehow? Well, we'll find out a bit later on. Is there going to be contact? There is going to be contact. Pascal Wehrlein versus Alexander Albon going into the fast double right. Quick mental note, Mitch Evans and Alexander Albon drive for Medsign 7 as into the pits from wherever position he was in. I think 3rd at the time goes Pierre Gasly. Good stop for the Willows Junior, 5.4 seconds. And at least 4 laps, probably 5 laps younger tyres than Esteban Ocon. So Pierre Gasly, where is he going to rejoin? I think that was behind an STV Racing. Well, here's STV going into combat. Benjamin Pryor versus Giovinazzi into the first corner, and Giovinazzi making a very neat manoeuvre on his Welsh teammate to move up into 6th place and having a very good debut as he turns right at turn 14. Now he's up against Callum Ilott. Callum Ilott in 5th place, driving for Monolith Racing Systems. Giovinazzi taking the outside, but is that going to become the inside into the final hairpin? It is indeed. Good switch, and into 5th place goes the Italian, having a good race. Now, how far back from Pierre Gasly's Giovinazzi? He's some 16 seconds off, so Giovinazzi looking at 5th place, I reckon, as Genjo Se versus George Russell. That gap's closed really quickly. Is George Russell not pitted yet? I think that must be the case, because Russell was off the track goes Russell, and up to 2nd goes Genjo Se, and that loss of momentum is going to give Pierre Gasly the run, and Pierre Gasly setting a fastest lap just as he takes 3rd place off of the very tired George Russell, and tired as in his tyres are pretty much off, because Se was some 5 seconds back before that lap started. Well, at the start of the lap, and he's somehow managed to catch him up before the end. So Russell probably playing the long game. It'll certainly come back to him as the race comes to a close. Into the pits comes Charles Leclerc from the race lead. He's left it very, very late. We've only got 11 laps to go after this one. And where's he going to rejoin? But new soft tyres, he's going to be explosively fast as George Russell finally comes into the pits as well. So it was a 6.5 second stop for Leclerc, and he rejoins behind Se and Gasly, but on much, much newer tyres, he should be able to do some damage as Yoshida versus, I think it was Pascal Wehrlein for 9th place into the hairpin, contact between the two, and Wehrlein spins as Yoshida goes into the grass and gravel. Now we've got a battle for the lead now between Genjo Se and Pierre Gasly into turn 9 hairpin. Oh, contact between the two, but Gasly just about hangs on to that one, as does Se. Slow run out of 9 for the Chinese driver, but there's no real way of overtaking going into 11. Now, how far back is the other Willows Junior of Charles Leclerc as we go through turn 12, 13, and then a very tricky braking zone for turn number 14, both drivers taking a very wide line into the corner. You can take a few different lines going through 13 and 14, but usually, well, it depends which the drivers prefer. As up the inside and back into the race lead, well, into the race lead goes Pierre Gasly, and considering his earlier spin and contact with Esteban Ocon at turn number 4, that's quite an impressive comeback. But Se has got a slipstream, and he's going to have a go back going into the first corner. There's a liquid target in the way almost, but up the inside, side by side to the first corner, but Gasly hangs on to that one, braving that one round the outside. Now, Leclerc is 13.5 seconds behind these two, but if these two squabble for a bit, then that is going to greatly benefit the Monegasque driver. And 4th place, Antonio Giovinazzi. He's had a great race from 14th on the grid up to 4th. He's got a future in FF2M, I reckon. Who we're looking at here, it's one of the OLM drivers, And one of the... who is that? That's a Monolith Racing Systems car. I think it could well be... who is it? It can't be Chuck Bucknam because he's out of the race. Who is Bucknam's teammate? I will find that out for you. As we got yellow flags between turns 6 and 7, but they've been withdrawn very quickly. It's Jack Aitken, he's the other OLM Hulk driver, so Aitken in 8th place at the moment, but he has got a rampant Monolith right behind him. And speaking of rampants, we've got Kvyat and Russell about to go into combat for 5th place. Might be seeing that some point soon. Russell has just taken Kvyat down the main straight into the first corner, and is it Callum Ilott we're looking at? I think so. He certainly does drive for Monolith Racing Systems, and it is Callum Ilott as he gets up the inside of Jack Aitken, fellow Brit, going into the first right-hand more than 180 degree hairpin and takes that 8th place off. So Ilott looking for 1 point and potentially pole position going into the upcoming sprint race. He's on the soft tyres, so he'd be on the hards for the sprint because you reverse the compounds. As Benjamin Pryor, he's somehow managed to drop down to 11th place. I imagine poor pace on the hard tyres, but maybe a later pit stop than normal has dropped him outside of the top 8, but he is trying to challenge Pascal Wehrlein for 10th place from the outside, going down the main straight. He's going to get the door shut on him, but he's going to switch to the inside into the first corner, and he's not that brave on the brakes. So this battle for 10th between Pryor, Wehrlein, and just in front will be that... oh, off the track, and is he going to spin? Wehrlein has a spin exiting turn 2. That's an unusual one. And he's going to drop down the order. Now Pryor versus Jack Aitken going down the straight, approaching the final turn 15 hairpin. He's going to take that position away. Now he just needs one more place in order to get into the points and potentially take pole position. That's one of Pryor's strengths, actually. He's quite a plucky racer, even if he may not be the fastest on the circuit. Alexander Albon in the Medsign 7 looking to overtake the Shake and Bake Junior of Itsuki Yoshida for 11th place. That's a position gained for the Thai driver. Half Thai, half Brit, but he races under a Thai nationality. Meanwhile, what have we got? Genjo Se versus Charles Leclerc. We may have 2 Willows Juniors in the first 2 places if this overtake goes to plan for Charles Leclerc. Indeed it does, up the inside, and taking 2nd place goes the Monegasque driver. Gasly starts lap 28. We've got 4 laps to go after this. Se's got a slipstream on Leclerc, who himself is 8.1 seconds, and Se could be doing Gasly a favour. He is trying to give him the favour up the inside into the first corner. Bit of understeer as Se tries to hang on at the inside, but Leclerc hanging on nicely round the outside. And Russell's just taken Giovinazzi for 4th place somewhere. I assume going into the final corner, yes, because they're only separated by a 10th and a half. And Leclerc choosing to watch his rear and keep a check on Genjo Se. Meanwhile, they're battling Giovinazzi and Russell. This is the start of it. Russell getting up the inside, going into the turn 15 hairpin. And nicely done on the brakes, but Giovinazzi with a decent line round the outside. And good traction for Giovinazzi, probably on those grippier, softer tyres, even though Russell's are a lot younger. And around the outside, going on the main straight, and Giovinazzi switching to the inside line, going into the first corner. And does he make that one stick? Well, Giovinazzi side by side with Russell going through the first couple of corners, and the outside, Giovinazzi still... oh! He had to stamp on the brakes there as Russell squeezed him out of road. And meanwhile, final lap, this is Pierre Gasly we're looking at now, who has had a very good race. He started from pole position in last season's Sepang feature race. Didn't get pole position this time, but he had some good race pace. And out of the final corner, and once again, just like the 2016 Europe Series, Pierre Gasly wins the first race of an FF2M season. This one being the Asia Series. And in 2nd place, it must be Charles Leclerc to make it a superb Willows Junior 1-2, utilising their softer rubber. And Pierre Gasly setting the fastest lap as well, so that's an extra bonus point for himself. Genjo Se takes a fine third for GRM Jr, ahead of George Russell, the pole sitter for this race. Antonio Giovinazzi with a very strong drive from 14th to 5th, and Daniel Kvyat doing quite well as well from 16th to 5th. And completing the point scorers, Esteban Ocon in 7th, despite being in contention for the race win, but having that spin just after his pit stop, he finishes 7th. And then Callum Ilott takes points in his FF2M debut, and Monolith Racing Systems first points in their return to FF2M. So that's a good result for it's an Irish team that's run under Liechtenstein licence. So look at the Drivers' Championship. Well, it's pretty much the order as it was, except for George Russell, who gets quite a lot of points, but I think he's got 2 points too many there because he'd finished 5th, and 2 points for pole position should only give you 7 points. So it's actually Gasly from Leclerc, and then Russell and Se, and then the rest of it as you were when the race had finished. Giovinazzi, Kvyat, Ocon and Ilott, and Willows Jr. with a very nice lead over Gajera 2 in the Teams Championship, but Gajera 2 should have 10 points instead of 12. GRM Jr. up in 3rd, and then we've got STV Racing 4th on 4 points, Spaniel 5th on 2, and Monolith Racing System 6th with just the 1 point. All the other teams, OLM Racing, Medsign 7, Shake and Make Jr., Danish Racing Team, and Liquid Target, no points so far, but we've still got another sprint race to go, and we'll see you for then.